Hello everyone, today we have poetry, and before we start, let me ask you some questions about the previous poem. The first, you have to know its name, Great, Wide, Beautiful, Wonderful World, and we have some questions. The first one is, who wrote this poem? I'll give you 1 minute to think about the answer. Yeah, it was written by William Brighty Rains. So the poet is William Brighty Rains, and as I told you that he was famous for his fairy tales for children and for his poems. He became a reporter in the House of Commons in England. Then, what is the rhyming scheme of this poem? It's A, A, B, B, C, C, D, D, and E, E. Then here, mention 3 figures of speech in this poem. Here we have this line, great, wide, beautiful, wonderful world. In this line, there is a figure of speech. Please think about it. Yeah, in this line there is alliteration, the repetition of sound w in, wide, wonderful, world, okay, gives us music that appeals our sense of hearing. Then we have you are so great and I am so small. Yeah. In this line there is a contrast between small and great, and this contrast stresses and clarifies the idea. Then we have the last line, you can love and think and the earth cannot. In this line there is a contrast between can and cannot, and this contrast stresses and clarifies the idea. Also, there is alliteration in can and cannot. The repetition of sound k in can and cannot gives us music that appeals our sense of hearing. Now let's turn to the new poem. Its name is The Rescue. The Rescue. Here, rescue means to save someone's life or to help someone out of a dangerous situation. Let's know the poet. The poet of this poem is Ian Srillier. Ian Srillier. He was a British poet and novelist. And he was appreciated by children for being retelling legends from Rome. He was famous for his children's books. So, the poet is Ian Srillier. He was a British poet and novelist. He was appreciated by children for being retelling legends from Rome. He was famous for his children's books. Then here, the poem is a ballad. And what's meant by ballad? It's a poem that tells a story and teaches us a moral lesson. As in this poem, the poet tells us a story of a dog and a man, and this man struggled to rescue the dog. Then here, we have 5 stanzas in this poem. The first stanza, let's read it together. The wind is loud, the wind is blowing, the waves are big, the waves are growing. What's that, what's that? A dog is crying, it's in the sea. A dog is crying, his or hers or yours or mine. A dog is crying, a dog is crying. The second stanza. Is no one there? A boat is going. The waves are big, a man is rowing, the waves are big, the waves are growing. Where is the dog? Where is the man? He's on the sand, it's not crying, his or hers or yours or mine. The third stanza. Is it dying? Is it dying? The wind is loud, the wind is blowing, the waves are big, the waves are growing. Where is the boat? It's upside down. Where is the dog? It must be drowned. His or hers or yours or mine. The fourth stanza. Oh, must it drown, oh, must it drown? So tired and wet, and still it lies, so tired and wet he cannot stand. Where is the dog? It's in his hand. He lays it down upon the sand, his or hers or yours or mine. The fifth stanza and the last one. The dog is mine, the dog is mine. I stroke its head, it opens its eyes, it wags its tail, so tired and wet, I call its name, for it's my pet. Not his or hers or yours, but mine. And up it gets, and up it gets. Okay, let's know the commentary. Here, the idea of the poem or of the story is simple, and as I told you that the poet tells us a story of a man and a dog, and how this man struggled to rescue the dog. The language is easy. The poem is consisted of 5 stanzas, and there are 12 lines in each stanza. The lines are short, there is a repetition of lines, and all things make this story easy to understand and to follow. It doesn't have any rhyme scheme. The poem shows us the ties and the mutual love between the poet and the dog, and between the man and the animal. And that's how the poet made the poem easy for the reader to understand and to read. So the question is, how did the poet make the poem easy for the reader? So you have to write the commentary, and you have to write all these things. Then we have some new words. The first one is stroke. Stroke. It's a verb. It means dally, pet, or tickle. As in the last stanza, the poet said that I stroke its head. That means that the poet pets or tickle his dog. Then we have wage. It's a verb, okay, and it means to move from a side to side. As in the last stanza, the poet said that it wages its tail. That means that the dog moves its tail from a side to side. Rescue, as I told you, to help someone out of a dangerous situation. Then here, rhyming scheme. It's a blank verse, and that means that there is no rhyme scheme in this poem. Then let's turn to the paraphrase, and as I told you, it's a story. This poem is a ballad, and a ballad means, as I told you, that it's a story, tells us that it's a poem, tells us a story, and teaches us moral lesson. As in this poem, the poet wanted to tell us a story about a man and a dog. He said that there was a storm, and the poet heard the dog crying, and he saw the man, and this man was rowing hard against the high waves, but the boat was turned upside down. The poet lost hope. He thought that the man was unable to save the dog. Suddenly the man reached the shore, and the dog was carried to the shore as well. Finally he recognized that it was his dog. Then let's turn to the first stanza. The wind is loud, the wind is blowing, the waves are big, the waves are growing. What's that? What's that? A dog is crying, it's in the sea. A dog is crying, his or hers or yours or mine. A dog is crying, a dog is crying. In the first stanza, the poet described the storm. He said the wind is loud, the wind is blowing. The sea is rough, the winds are strong. He said the waves are big, the waves are growing. What's that? What's that? And he describes the cries of the dog, and that he heard the dog crying. A dog is crying, it's in the sea. A dog is crying, his or hers or yours or mine. So, in the first stanza, the poet described the storm. The sea is rough, the winds are strong, the waves are high, and the cries of the dog are heard. Then here is no one there, a boat is going, the waves are big, a man is rowing, the waves are big, the waves are growing, where is the dog, where is the man, he's on the sand, it's not crying, his or hers or yours or mine. In this stanza, the poet sees a man in a boat. The man is rowing hard against the strong high waves. Is it dying? Is it dying? The wind is loud, the wind is blowing, the waves are big, the waves are growing. Where is the boat? It's upside down. And where is the dog? It must be drowned. His or hers or yours or mine. In the third stanza, the boat is upside down. The poet is worried about the dog. His hope of saving the dog is almost lost. Then here, oh must it drown, so tired and wet, and still it lies, so tired and wet he cannot stand. And where is the dog? It's in his hand. He lays it down upon the sand, his or hers or yours or mine. In this stanza, the man reached the shore safely with the poor wet dog in his hand. The poet recognized that it was his dog. The dog is mine, the dog is mine. I stroke its head, it opens its eyes, it wagged its tail, so tired and wet I call its name, for it's my pet, not his, hers or yours, but mine. And out it gets, and out it gets. In the fifth and the last stanza, we see the feeling and the mutual love between the poet and his dog, and we see that the poet pets his dog tenderly, and the dog shows that gratitude to the poet. And here gratitude means thankfulness. The dog is on its feet again. We finished the poem, and we have some general questions. You will find them in your booklet. Let's read them together. The theme of love is significant in this poem. Discuss. Who wrote this poem? How did the poet make the poem easy for the reader? So, you have to answer these questions after studying the poem. Please study hard and do your best. Thank you for your attention, and goodbye.